Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to me trying to do live videos again. This is the first time I'm doing it on Instagram with a separate device, as I am doing it on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. Woo! Okay, anyways, I was just in Nashville for the past few days because I had attended Founders Board's quarterly meeting. And if you don't know what Founders Board is, that is that is an event where a bunch of founders that are part of the Scalable company, where these are brands doing anywhere between $3 and $50 million a year, come together every quarter to connect on what's working now and learn about ways that they can grow and scale their businesses. I was lucky enough to go to this one in Nashville. I've previously gone to ones in San Diego, in Punta Mita, Mexico, and this event was no exception to the quality of content that was there. So I wanted to use this time to briefly share what I experienced, and briefly is debatable, don't worry, I know. But some of the notes that I took and share back what those learnings were, and also use this as a means to hold myself accountable to what we want to do for Mongoose Media to action the great learnings that we had. So if this is something relevant to you, awesome, welcome to the party. If it's not, well, sorry about it, you're here anyways. The event itself, it's 2 days. It happens 4 times a year. Obviously, it's quarterly. And this one took place at the Grand Hyatt in Nashville. I actually had never been to Nashville, Tennessee, so that was kind of fun in and of itself. I'm fortunate that I get to travel a lot, and this was a first. I went down Broadway. I hung out with Suze Amato and her husband, Mario, for the first day. We went to eat barbecue on Broadway Street. We saw 100 different brands and 100 different bars. That was just live music everywhere you went. So the city itself was a vibe, and that we got to do before the event started. I arrived on Sunday. I actually got to speak, woohoo! On Monday, I had my own session, which was called Micro Marketing Shifts That Lead to Massive Macro Sales. And so I got to share the stage alongside Ryan Deiss, Roland Frasier, and then a whole bunch of others that had done topic tables. And the topic tables was something we had done after lunch, where I had the pleasure to speak again, but this time on what's working now with Meta ads. So it was an overwhelming and exciting experience, because not only did I get to have this full stage to myself, but I got to have more intimate conversations at our topic table alongside some really competitive tables, where I'm not saying I regretted having the table because the discussions were amazing, but I was like, man, I kind of wish I was able to attend some of the tables as well. Hi, Rebel. So anyways, jumping into what Founders Board is, it's like I said, it's a place where a bunch of founders come together to share what's working now and accelerate growth and sales in their business. The first day, Monday, May 5th, the schedule was like, we had a welcome and overview. Deiss and Roland had talked specifically about what's working now. I took the notes on those 6 things, so I'll share that with you. I'll go highlights over what my specific topic was when I had talked about the micro marketing shifts that lead to macro sales. Then we had lunch, topic tables, and then we had this really great presentation that discussed about the state of exits, as well as a fun networking party where, oh my gosh, I got to try these amazing custom s'mores with a raspberry marshmallow. And it was like everything. And I was like, oh, hi, Paula. So to that effect, it was cool. So I'll jump right into the best component of what's working now from the founders of Founders Board, the head of Scalable company itself. So on day 1, Ryan kicked it off where his primary component of what's working now was all about the importance of email segmentation. So if you've got a list that you have been emailing, they've hundreds of thousands of folks in their email marketing list. I'm sure you have tens of thousands, if not millions, like some of the other founders did as well. And so they were talking about ways that you could get more sales from your leads without burning your list. So when you burn your list, it means that you've over-emailed someone and they're just unsubscribing, which can increase to your spam rate. And that's not something any of us want to do, especially ahead of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, which I know it's in May, but it's something that at least at Mongoose Media, we start planning in June. So being cognizant of that is really important. Therefore, him talking about the importance of email segmentation was amazing. I'm a huge proponent of it. It was actually a lot of what my talk was about, but he had talked about how some mistakes that he's learned from, because Ryan's always being very forthcoming of the learnings that they have come from stuff that they learned from. So he had said that his first mistake was that like he was turning up the heat too quickly and he was burning out the list, right? You have all of these emails and you're giving them so much information. And if you're missing out on what they're actually wanting to see and hear from you, if you're giving them an overwhelming amount of content, you're shoving sales down your throat. It's like when you're trying to sleep with someone immediately after the handshake. So he said mistake number one was that you turn up the heat too quickly and burn them out. But equally, mistake number two was that you turn off the heat and your best leads end up dying on the vine. What that can mean is you shove all this information in their face. You're like, hey, buy from me right now. Like, this is amazing. Don't you love us? When the reality is they may not be ready now to buy from you. They might be ready later, but you go so hard in, right? Like you're trying to sleep with them upon the handshake. And then after you started to get to know them, you have some foreplay, maybe they're ready and interested in what you have to say, you disappear. You ghost them and you turn the heat down. So you're not nurturing the relationship based off of where they are with your brand and where they are in their ready to buy cycle. So his big whole component on what we're going to do now is you want to leverage segmentations in your campaign so that you can then, when they have self-identified as interested in what you have to say, what you want to buy or sell, they can opt in for a private conversation, which you can sell to them. And that private, like, you know, you have campaign segmentation to sell in private. That selling in private experience might be something like you're connecting in DMs, you're getting them on sales calls with your team. Whatever that private avenue of selling means, you're taking the conversation of being one to many. You're sending the same message to all of your email subscribers, but you're moving them into a one-to-one situation. So it's hyper relevant, hyper personalized to what they actually want and need from your business. And some of that segmentation that he does, that he set up really, really well, is he'll have this one example. He talked about passive segmentation, which was where he was saying like he does this with social media posts, with Twitter or X and other items, where he does content and then what he calls a perfect PS. So at the end of emails or letters, you know, once upon a time when we wrote letters, you would do a PS. And he was saying that for him, those PSs of his social posts and his emails were generating some of the highest selling in private opportunities. So if you're sending emails out, I invite you to take his advice, which is adding a PS every now and then when you're delivering content that is pure content. It's edutaining, it's educational, and it's entertaining. And I'm like, oh, hi, I'm so excited. Like, I'm doing this on Instagram live for the first time, so forgive me if I'm getting like nervous about this, but I'm very excited that you guys are here. So to the perfect PS, what you can have is when you're providing content upfront, value upfront, you can have a PS that allows you to sell without being sleazy. So some of those types of PSs that you can do is like, hey, PS, we're launching a new program. If you have any interest, you can sign up for the waitlist here. PS, did you know that we offer these services? If this is something you're interested, please let us know and you can reply in this capacity. I am a huge proponent of advocating for replies whenever you can in any of your email marketing. Why? It increases your domain sending reputation, as well as allows you to start a dialogue. When you have a dialogue with your ideal lead or customer, that's when you're starting to treat them like a lead and not a subscriber. If you're in my database and you're just a voyeur, if you're just consuming the content and not clicking or replying, you're not a lead to me or to any of our clients. You're just a subscriber. So this passive segmentation, where it's content plus the perfect PS, allows you to sell with content without making a direct pitch. You're not saying sleep with me upon the handshake. You're saying, hey, I've got a really great view of the city. If you ever want to check it out, we can watch the fireworks from up there. You know, it might be that PS. He had explained this Columbo, I think the show was called. Maybe it's like a detective type of show where there was one person attending that was giving the demonstration of what Columbo was, where it's like, by the way, something. I've never seen the show. I don't know what it is. Forgive me for that reference. But if you have, hopefully it makes sense because he was calling it like a Columbo PS. It allows you to get those hand raisers and from that, he was saying like for passive segmentation, another option to get those hand raisers was like sending out a very specific once a month type of email that goes especially to your past clients. So he calls it the ready now hand raiser email, where you can say like, hey, Lauren, hey, Randall, hey, Paula, do you want some help? You can use the dynamic variables in your email. So the subject line being the dynamic first name, asking want some help, quick question for you. Have you insert desired result yet? And then he does this like once a month. It says like, I'm looking for X number of ideal clients that want known desired result in the next X amount of days without or with something they don't want or something they do want. And you say, just reply to this email with tell me more and I'll send you the details. Again, it's that reaching for a reply strategy that helps turn those conversations with subscribers into dialogues with leads. So in this capacity, you just say something simple. I'm sure a lot of us have seen this on our social feeds, right? I'm looking for 10 agencies that are looking to grow and scale their businesses. This is like a very obvious conversion, like a successful conversion campaign I see for photographers all the time. Like, hey, I'm looking for like 5 pet moms that want to have a special photo shoot with their dog. I mean, I can't be the only one that's getting that specific type of email marketing or those Instagram ads. But like, I'm obsessed with my dog, so I know why it works. Anyways, he's recommending that you can create these 12 different types of hand raiser campaigns. Hello, Elam, welcome to the party. And he's saying like these are different types of campaigns that you can run to, again, generate those replies, which will elicit stronger dialogues for turning your subscribers to leads. He, for Founders Boards, is giving out those 12 email templates he does. He does them once a month. There's a different email each time. So that was a cool perk of being in the room. I get to share the details of what I learned, but to be in the room, you get access to the verbatim templates. Sorry, it's not my stuff to share, but it is great. So if you are signed up to Mongoose Media's list, right, you can go to mongoosemedia.us/yes-please. Maybe we'll get to see some of those templates in real live action. So he was saying that like that's a really great hand raiser campaign as a way to reach out to your existing leads, especially past clients, to get them to essentially re-register, asking them to opt in. Even though they've signed up, you're asking them to opt in again. And so this third strategy he has for getting stronger email segmentation he said what's working now is that re-register campaign, right? So we've talked about specifically the passive segmentation, which is content plus a PS, the hand raiser one you send out once a month. Now he's doing what he calls the re-register situation. So in that re-register type of campaign, he's asking your existing subscribers to re-opt into something they've already signed up. And Ryan came up with the best explanation, which was like a light bulb to every single person in the room and ended up being a really good conversation starter with a lot of the other founders when we talked about how relevant this was. And he said, this re-register type of campaign is like date night. And a lot of people are like, well, why do I need to date my leads? And his like conversation closer was like, why take my wife out on a date? I'm already married. And every single person in that room knew immediately, of course, you take your wife out on dates, even though you're already married. Similarly, of course, you get your existing leads to re-opt in after they've signed up. And that was this amazing light bulb moment. I wish you were in the room so you could feel this like aha moment that everyone had, because it was very jovial in nature. From that, the opportunities of when you're doing these segmentation campaigns, whether it's passive, the re-register, the hand raisers, or this next one, which is called a micro purchase, it's really important that you add links to all of them so that you can understand what's moving the needle, what campaigns that you're running are driving the desired results, so that you can do more of what's working and identify and understand what didn't, so that you don't have to repeat, but amplify what worked. So going into that next one, that fourth type of email segmentation he had, which was providing a micro purchase, it's instead of asking them to opt in for something for free, like we all know, especially for e-commerce, but many lead generation and SaaS companies neglect this in their email marketing strategies, is that you run a flash sale once in a while, right? I think Ezra Firestone had said that he recommends it every like 6 to 8 weeks. I've heard other people say you do a major sale every 16 weeks. whatever it is, you want to run a flash sale once in a while. There's obvious holidays like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. If you're in the jewelry space, it's right now for Mother's Day. That is your like big kahuna of a day. If you're health and wellness, it's all of January. Right? Like if you're in hospitality sales, it's if you can in September, because that's when everything dies because kids are in school and you're not thinking about vacations. You're just wishing you were having it again. But whatever it is, create a promotional calendar. And like, if you are a member of Digital Marketer, I self-promo, shameless promotion. Anyways, in that community, there's a training that I did that you can have access where I talked about how we have run and launched a promotion in 10 days from scratch. And so that I have personally received really good feedback. I don't know if everyone's loved it, but no one's complained about it to me. And I've gotten some really nice DMs. So thank you to everyone who watched it. But he's saying like create a promo calendar checklist, which I know a lot of us know and need to have in our businesses. So he's having like his promo calendar example was like having a content day to which you like write and film all your content so that you can know what you're going to produce and send that content on like a Sunday or Monday. Run a segmentation campaign per week. And that's like, between Monday through Thursday, and maybe you end up doing like multiple ones based on your segmentation. So Monday goes to this list, Tuesday goes to this list, but you have a segmented campaign per week. He'll have 2 wild card days where it's like usually a Friday or Saturday where he'll like do these like off type of campaigns. And then he'll, in his like segmentation campaigns per week, he might have like 1 week he does a hand raiser campaign. Another week he might do a re-register for a lead magnet or webinar. Third might be a direct offer, or fourth might be a re-registration or a different offer, which is he's calling like a wild card kind of situation. Now that's what his promo calendar looks like. And again, he shared like a verbatim template of what his Monday through Saturday email looks like. And sometimes his like off wild card like actually means like he's not sending emails. He doesn't want to burn out the list. He wants to make sure he's communicating well. But there are things that are like sending your main list a YouTube video, sending a lead magnet or an offer to a specific segmentation of your list, promoting a LinkedIn post or a Facebook or Instagram post, right? It's that type of content that you can use to your audience to keep them warmed up to you so that they know, like, and trust you. We do a lot of email marketing, so this stuff feels really familiar for us. But if that's not something you're currently exploring, I highly recommend that you check out some promotional calendar templates. If you have questions, I'm happy to give you examples of templates based off your industry that we know have worked well. It always depends. The 2 most important words with anything related to marketing is it depends. Your list size, your resources available. Like if you don't have resources, it doesn't make sense to use large company, large budget templates and systems for your smaller budget business, right? There's always solutions that work best for you. And sometimes that might mean like managing your energy and managing your resources so you don't burn out. Anyways, that was the biggest one of like what's working now with him, with Ryan for email segmentation. Then we had a chance to hear from Roland Frasier. Roland is in charge of Epic, and part of what he does with Epic is teaching about mergers and acquisitions. And he's got a huge integrator part of all the companies that he's been acquiring and flipping. And oh man, he's like so embedded in this space. Think of like what acquisitions.com does with Alex Hermosi, or Cody Sanchez does with her business. That's what Roland does at Scalable. So he was sharing like the nerdiest of the nerd things related to AI. Honestly, it was amazing. At times, I think there are a lot of people that have like their eyes glazed over because Roland went deep on stuff that he's doing with AI. But what's cool is because he's doing all these mergers and acquisitions and he's integrating with so many different companies, he's got an AI squad that's making sure that they're the most efficient that they can. And I won't share numbers with case studies that he shared because again, that's like an exclusive, cameras off, need to be in the room information, but holy smokes, is he doing well. Like he was very transparent about how some of the transactions and flippings that he's had success with. And part of it comes from him integrating this advanced AI. So one of the things that he saw was working is like this challenge of like boring lead magnets aren't converting. Duh. Like it's like when your lead magnet sounds cool but is actually boring, and especially when it's not delivering tangible results for you right now, it's not going to work for your business. That's the reality. And so what he found was like, if boring lead magnets don't work, because most lead magnets and tripwire offers are dumb, generic, and non-prospect specific, how might we turn these like great ideas we have into awesome lead magnets that none of us need to code or hire a developer for, because that just takes too long and costs too much, and it will delay us launching into something. So he wanted to transform useless into useful, and he had done this through advanced AI. So hang tight while I try to re-explain what was something quite complicated. But essentially what he was saying is like, you want to turn a boring lead magnet into an interactive conversation simulator, or into an interactive element of what the solution your actual audience wants. Because if it's just something that they read and consume, they're not going to take action. But if it's something that they can interact with, that's personalized, at something that's unique, stands out, and is likely going to be consumed in a higher quality lead component than just like looking at an item. So what he had done was he had created for his sales company, there's like this example of like 7 tips that help your sales team lead to better business development, right? It's just like, it's a checklist. It's something that you look at and read. I am guilty of recommending and promoting some of these. So that's why I was like, I was all in and listening, because creating interactive lead magnets, I was like, keep going. So he wanted to change that like 7 steps, that 7 pieces of checklist. It was so true. So I was looking at the comments. I was like, yes. So in that kind of capacity, right? Like you have like an opportunity. Someone doesn't want to know what the 7 steps are, because then they have to teach themselves and they have to practice. Roland was like, well, how might we create an interactive conversation simulator, right? So not only do you learn them, but they're embedded and you train on them, and you can get even stronger with what's actually beneficial for your company and your team, right? So needless to say, he's not a coder. He's a lawyer by trade, not a software developer. So what he wanted to do is create this interactive thing that's tailored to their business. And he had done it by creating a form related to custom GPTs. So if you're not using custom GPTs, that is something that can really elevate your AI game. And it's something related to OpenAI's ChatGPT. So you can make custom GPTs so that it's like living in an ecosystem of what that AI is specifically trained on. But he had said he was going to use, his challenge was using ChatGPT plus, one asterisk to this program was that you had to have ChatGPT plus to get access to this interactive conversation sales component, which was his new lead magnet. So if you didn't have a ChatGPT plus or a team account, it was restrictive. You couldn't get access to the quality data as much as you would have wanted to. So he had other solutions like using Poe.com, Zapier, TileDesk, VoiceFlow, or Bubble as a way to integrate your ChatGPT so that you can have those solutions if someone who's accessing it didn't have a ChatGPT Plus account. But with this, he allowed himself to create a solutions-driven sales asset that matched the current environment. Not just, here's 7 things that don't match the current environment. It worked, a decade ago, 10 years ago? Oh, hello, real cool. That type of stuff worked then, doesn't necessarily work as well now, and this stands out. This is sticky. This is thumb scrolling because this is different. So what he wanted to do was he wanted to convert online without a conversation, but we know that's super hard. So he was saying, let's enable that conversation, because the old way isn't getting that interaction, right? Like you want to go from one to many if you're talking to subscribers, to change it to one-to-one so you have a dialogue with the prospect, for the potential lead. So his level 1 solution, he's die hard for Claude. He's tested a lot. He's got a team that's very devoted to this. So he created their own bespoke lead magnets with Claude. And he then created a working WordPress plugin in a few hours by talking back and forth with Claude with extended thinking on. And he said specifically Claude is his go-to solution, especially when he's using AI for coding. Chat just would have more bugs and he'd have to hire an advanced software developer to debug the solution. And that was just like, he wasn't happening. So his level 1 solution was creating bespoke lead magnets with Claude, having the WordPress plugin. So boom, he had something right away. But his level 2 solution, going a bit deeper, was creating then their own mini apps, right? So you can have something simple, but if you could create your own mini web apps and software, this was different. So like what he was doing was like he made an LLM workspace, which was a collaborative environment on LLM hubs trained on your company's information. He was doing like SEO analyzers. He had done like Deal Done AI, which was like analyzing potential deals, creating deal stacks, and generating LOIs, letter of interest, and NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, so that if you're looking to buy and sell a company, these were interactive apps that he made available that more closely identified his targeted lead and gave them actual content that they wanted to consume. I know this is a lot and I know it's confusing. I'm looking at like all of my notes that I had taken from the event and I have screenshots for it. So if you'd like to potentially see some of that, just let me know and I'll see what I can send over to you without like sharing any details that were not allowed to be shared. But his example, if you're able to check out Deal Done AI, you can see that that's a mini web app that he created using Claude. No code solutions that are better than just giving someone, here's a checklist of what you need to do to know and understand if this is a deal that makes sense for your business, right? So how did they do it? Like they used Claude, they created those other things, but he recommended some other solutions. So there's something called like Replit, which is more robust than Lovable, but lovable.dev was my takeaway. Like I actually sent it to 2 people on my team. I was like, figure this out, play with lovable.dev. And one of our team members came back and was like, this is so much fun. So he liked lovable.dev, no affiliate commissions whatsoever, but it allowed him to code an entire working MVP, minimal viable product, in an hour, just by chatting with an agent about what you want your site to do. So you're able to talk about, you create this no-code solution, and then you can build a whole site on what your new lead magnet, your web app solution is that's interactive for your ideal customer to play with. That's not just, here's a downloaded PDF, hopefully you'll look at it. So he was able to do this with Lovable, and then he was allowed to automatically paste the errors back into the chat box related to Lovable and watch Lovable fix it, right? Like that was huge. Then he had said, like, getting into deeper stuff, like he likes Lovable the most because it is a direct integration with a company called Supabase, which allows for backend access for like managing users and like in all that type of stuff. So when you're using Claude and when you're building all these things, he did say a very important component is to make sure that you have a PRD. And so Lovable works best with it is awesome, y'all. Totally is. Lovable works best with an extremely detailed initial prompt. So he's saying like creating a PRD, a product requirement document, you need to make sure that you create clear instructions for this Claude project, right? So he had done an example, which is like, I want to create a prompt that helps me create step-by-step PRD, product requirement document, files to use in my Claude project as the custom instructions. This will help guide the user. This will help the user guide them through creating a PRD file to develop web apps. So there's lots of prompt online, but like obviously you can make your own. He had said other solutions to lovable.dev or Replit was like Appify or Bolt. It's not one that he had used, but they were other ones. So all of that was like, how might you have like a solution that like what problems your current customers are having, and then how might you build an app that helps? And he was saying, God, Lovable, like dive in, spend half a day, because if you want to create the best lead magnet for your ideal customer, you need to make one that's useful, but incomplete. That's something Ryan has said a lot of times throughout his time at Digital Marketer and Scalable. Lead magnets that are the best solution are useful, but incomplete. Incomplete means that like they're going to go through it and feel that the time they spent with you is amazing. That's why it was useful. But they know at the end of it, it can't solve everything. Because if it did, they're not going to need you anymore. So a lead magnet is to be something that is useful, but incomplete. Therefore, Roland is like, how do we make lead magnets that aren't just viewable, but interactive? So that was something really cool that he discussed. Then he went even deeper, which was like, if you thought you could hang tight with understanding how he built these web apps, customs, instead of like PDF solutions, then he was talking about like Claude and NCP servers, which was like extremely technical. He asked you to hang, but I was like, oh, this is a little bit too much. But he was just saying that like, as of right now, right, this is like May 2025, Claude wasn't powerful enough because he wished he had access to more tools so that it could work well together. And he had said, like, right now, Claude desktop is the only place that it works. So on mobile, hopefully it'll come out to all of the other solutions. But what he found is because of Claude's inefficiencies, he was using an MCP server model context protocol. Oh, so MCP servers, which is like model context protocol. So it's how you make Claude do the things you need to do. Like, so model context protocols, MCP, this was like way above. I think I know a decent amount of stuff around AI because we've been using it for years, but it was just like, oh, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And this is what I didn't know. And so like this was just a way that you allow Claude or any AI to get access to the real tool. So it runs like a local server on your machine. You might have seen like some of the like Air AI or like some solutions that are like user interface of what this is, but you don't have to pay for those. You can access it. And he was saying like, if you were to use the agent for ChatGPT, that's like $200 a month of what this can do for like $20. And his solution was using this MCP, allowed him to not have to pay like a $1,200 per month person to just figure out these integrations and can use that for a higher productivity task. So when you can use an MCP server, you can like allow Claude or any AI to access computer files. It's like Playwright by Microsoft allows browser automation. You can have it access Slack or other accounts. You have optional APIs with OpenAI and Zapier. What we did internally is like I used to talk to ChatGPT while I was walking my dog, and then I set up tasks that it would create after our conversation to push into Slack and to push into ClickUp. So that was a tool that I could take my conversation out of ChatGPT and into actionable tasks for everyone else on my team. And he was using this MCP because it allowed him to talk to Claude and actually do stuff, not just brainstorm with, and it allowed him to run tools locally, like free, private, fast, and access additional tools with paid APIs. So you might have seen other like videos and stuff where like you're like watching AI like surf the web and do all these different solutions and go to Google Maps, open browsers. That's what this essentially does. And he's, again, huge advocate for Claude, not the one that we use the most, but one I'll look into as like one of my action items from it, because his ChatGPT operator at $200 a month like didn't do a good enough job and it took too long. So what that was essentially is like exploring MCPs. If you haven't, if you're into AI, that's like the next level to make sure that the AI is actually doing something for you versus listening to you. Jumping into the next, and I was like, I can't believe I'm on like 33 minutes and I'm like on still the morning. It was such good stuff, but I'll like finish the what's working now and then highlight the rest so that you guys can enjoy your lunch instead of just listening to me tell you about like how happy I was that I went to Founders Board in Nashville and all the amazing people I got to see and hang out with and meet, as well as like hug again because I hadn't seen them in some time. Ryan went on to talk about how like his number 4 of what's working now are Instagram trial reels. I stand by it 100%. Sammy is our head of social, and she had shared how like one client account using test trial reels has gained over 15,000 followers since testing trial reels. Some of the things like Ryan had the chance to talk to like a lot of really big creators and like they're loving it. They're doing like a lot of trial reels from our side. Our head of social said 2 to 3 max per day, having like a few hour gap between them and maybe making small edits on like the title screen can help lead to like the most engagement. But if you don't, thanks, Elon. If you don't know about Instagram trial reels, let me just tell you, reels in general are working now amazingly, especially for ads, but trial reels for organic, what it does is it forces your content in front of people that are not following you. That's the whole point of all of our advertising, right? So what if you could do that organically? It's through trial reels. And Instagram hasn't put any restrictions on it. People are still not using it to the degree that I think Instagram would have hoped that they would. But Ryan was talking about Instagram trial reels, and I was like, yes, facts, 100%. We had one that had like 80 followers come from a trial reel, and we have a very small account. Feel free to follow us on Instagram at Mongoose Media, where you'll see that I'm going live for the first time ever in a vertical format. Oh my gosh, bear with me. But Instagram trial reels, 100% working now. He talked about it. And then they went on to discuss like ways that you can improve show up rates. They were saying that like right now, show up rates in general for your lead generation and your booking appointments, he had show up rates that used to be 70, 80% drop down to 40. 41%. Like that's a make or break. You're investing all this money in lead generation and then no one's showing up to the calls they booked. What the heck? So what Ryan and his team found at Scalable of what they changed was people before had a lot of friction. You booked a call, and if you wanted to get on the call, he had a confirmation handoff mail. He had a 20-minute what we do pre-call online video to watch. They had a 32 questions scalability assessment. They had 3 articles they wanted to do. They had additional 1 or 2 pieces of content. And that was like 7 to 10 automated emails and SMS conversations over 72 hours before someone actually got on the phone. So it's like you signed up, hey, I'm interested, and then here's a barrage of information that's overwhelming you before you even get on the call that we thought would be good and helpful for you, and it makes you a more qualified subscriber or a qualified lead on the discovery call. But the reality was it's like, oh my God, I've had enough. I'm not doing this right now. So he found that after they decreased a lot of that extra effort, they can maintain the confirmation handoff email. They did a group text where they had like, hey, let me introduce you to the sales rep that you're going to meet. This is on the call. And then they did 1 content piece that was personalized based on that prospect's number 1 issue or challenge. So in that pre-qualifying, that knockout question, as we like to say for the qualifying, thank you, Ralph Burns, for giving me that name. You understand what's their main issue and you provide them 1 piece of content based on it versus sending everyone everything and more that may or may not be relevant for them. And he was saying like his solution of less is more changed his show up rates from 41% to 74%. That's huge. Everyone wants that. It's like almost half the price of your ads now because you have more people showing up as qualified leads. So he was saying like he's giving clients less homework between booking calls and the actual call. So they're not feeling that they need to reschedule because they aren't quite ready. They didn't do the homework. We're not in grade school anymore. None of us wants to do homework. And then if you gave me homework and I didn't show up, I feel embarrassed and I'm coming to a conversation on an equal footing. So he found that as like a point of friction that when they implemented, it helped a lot. He added a text SMS as a handoff channel to keep the conversation going and expedite the call time. Like that's brilliant, right? If you have something that you're handing off and you're introducing a new person, why not make that introduction so that you have a better understanding of who you're going to connect with next? Like I'm like, oh, I'm stealing this and I'm immediately introducing this to some of our clients where it makes sense. And then by focusing on that one thing rather than a lot of potential issues, this allowed the tension on the call to be focused on what they actually want to solve for. It makes the closing call more focused and effective. And it forces setters or SDRs to dig deeper on the discovery process on that one thing, right? So again, it's hyper-personalized, hyper-relevant to what they actually want to solve versus like, hey, we could solve everything. I'm guilty of this. I know. But listening to this was like, all right, this is a chance. How might we evaluate ways to be more tailored and specific to what someone wants and needs? And then another thing, which was really cool, which makes sense, no brainer, easy micro change that you can make that he's shown make a macro difference, was stop asking them if this time is good. We say, see you in a bit. They already booked. They know the time is good. So stop giving them the chance to say like, oh, actually it's not good anymore. Assume that it's good because they made the booking. So confirm that you're going to see them in a bit versus asking them to potentially reschedule if they wanted to. So that was like the 5 of the 6 things. He'd also done a little bit about like what's working now with AI ads, but like that was overwhelming. And I've already spent like 40 minutes talking about that first like 2-hour session. And I'm like, guys, this was amazing. Like I make no commission. I'm not saying or advocating like Founders Boards is the bee's knees and the one place to go for you. I'm just sharing what my specific feedback was like and what I learned. Other things I learned was like, I learned about like when Roland had talked about like how he does creative financing for mergers and acquisitions and ways that you can like have greater roll-ups in your company and like greater opportunities. We had like these topic tables. I specifically talked about what's working now with meta ads. So I got to speak to a lot of founders and hear what they want and share like, things that are working now is like real ads all day, leveraging meta AI, how Advantage Plus has drastically changed and it's working for e-commerce, but we don't know if it's working well for lead gen yet. Like the cat's not out of the bag. No, there's an expression there. I can't remember. We're not confident, but we're checking. We're testing. We're seeing how it goes. I was able to share how we do email triage. So I talked extensively for like an hour about how our welcome series emails, where most people do like, 2 to 7 emails on onboarding. What everyone does for a first email solo email. Hey, here's your asset. I actually have as potentially 27 emails. So I made a presentation leveraging like White Lotus gifts. It was so fun, and the gifts didn't work. So that was silly. But the content was still there and hopefully really good. And I'm going to make a video showing my email triage to give to everyone in Founders Board to show the full example, because we were clicking through, and a 5-minute video helps remind everyone the like hour presentation. But the skinny of it was when you're sending someone a welcome series and onboarding series from your email system, if you're sending them, hey, here's your asset, and then like the next email is like, let me introduce you to our brand. And the third email is, here's objection busters. Fourth email is like, here are the services we sell and provide. And you're just sending them all in a row, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're assuming that they're interested in having to hear what you have to say. Whereas I say, no, do not pass go, do not collect $200. I'm going to give you what you asked for, but I'm not going to give you anything more unless you show me proof of life. And proof of life for me is a click or a reply. So I'm going to turn that first email into potentially 27. Pause. I'm sorry, my Instagram paused because you weren't using the app. What? That was weird. Okay, learned something new. And so to that effect, it was like, I want to change the first email to potentially 27, but it's actually only 3 different emails because I'll resend them up to 24 times with different subject lines in a different cadence with like 3 or 4 text messages, just to make sure you click or reply. Because if you're not going to consume the content, I'm not going to introduce you to my brand. I'm not going to introduce you to the services. I'm going to make it so that you either show me proof of life and show me that you're a qualified subscriber in my ecosystem, and then potentially marketing qualified lead. So a lot of people look at a marketing qualified lead as anyone who's signed up and raised their hand is interested in what you have to say. And a sales qualified lead is anyone that's raised their hand and said they're interested in what you have to say. And they also meet 2 of the 4 bands: budget, authority, need, and time. I'm saying, no. If you don't show me proof of life, you're not a marketing qualified lead. You're just a subscriber. So how can I get them to show themselves as a marketing qualified lead with proof of life, or get them to opt out as being a marketing qualified lead and become just a subscriber, so that I can build negative lookalike audiences? I can train my ad algorithms to not keep optimizing for more of you tire kickers, because reality is 80% of anyone that joins your ecosystem is never ever going to buy from you anyways. So I don't want to spend my time on those 80% where I can just have them the chance to see 27 potential emails and then disqualify them as a marketing qualified lead, label them only as a subscriber, and then reach out to them twice a month just so that they can remember me if and when they change their mind. Anyways, that was what my session was about. At the event, like, it was a lot of fun. We learned a lot of different things. I got to see Suze. She's amazing. Got to connect with Carrie. Got to meet Dr. Phyllis. Like, there were just so many incredible human beings in that room, ranging along a whole host of different businesses. We had some like round tables where we got to discuss like scenarios and see like, what would you do to approach different things that happen in our real life businesses. And then we had food. We had really good food, especially the s'mores. Oh my gosh, this is too long, 43 minutes. Thanks for listening. If you're able to, I'm like beyond grateful that there's like over 11 people across like that are still here. Oh my gosh, guys, love you. If you're watching the recording, love you too. Ciao. Now I just have to figure out how to time this off. End stream.